Welcome to the fourth video of my newsletter Pivot Points, your guide to analytical. Earlier exercise we started off with this data set, and this was the question that we had solved, which is the percentage of sales that occurs at each store. Now we will start solving this question, which is what percentage of sales occurs during each month. So our metric, our dimension has now changed. Earlier it was store, now it is the month. So time is the dimension over here. Now to start with, our overall steps will remain the same as we have done in the earlier problem. We will first enlist all the unique values of the dimension, and then for each of the values of the dimension we will aggregate the sales using the SUMIFS function and generate the output. So let us go ahead and start our solution. So for starting the solution, as we have seen earlier, that we will have to go to the advanced filter because we will have to enlist the unique values of the dimension, which is month, in a column. So once we reach the advanced filter dialog box, we instruct the advanced filter dialog box to copy the unique values to another location, and we mention the location as say D10, and we know that the range from which we need to copy the values of the months is there in the C month column of the input data set. So the list range, input list range is C month, and we will copy only the unique records for which we check this value and click OK. So once you do that, you will see that all the 12 months have appeared in this column. Now just for the sake of more sanity, we will sort this in a particular order using simple sort. We'll go ahead and sort the month in the chronological order starting from January and ending at December. So we do the sorting and we mention the order as January, February, March, April, and so on. So once we do that, the dimension, the unique values of the dimension month have appeared in the column D11 through D22. Now we will have to calculate the sales for each month. And so we define two more columns. One is sales, the other is percentage sales. And once we do that, we'll simply formulate the SUMIFS function. Before we formulate the SUMIFS function, we will define another named range for the month. So we will go here, we will go to the formulas tab, we'll go to the name manager, and we will create a new named range, and we will, since this range is a vertical range, we will prefix it by V, and we will put V month. We will have the scope as workbook, and the reference would be the reference of the name of the months, which is from column D11, from row D11 through D22. Now our V month range is already created. Now we will model our SUMIFS function. So we'll write SUMIFS. The first parameter, as we have discussed multiple times and seen in the last hands-on exercise, the first parameter is the metric, that is the business metric on which is getting aggregated. In this case, it is sales, and we know that the sales exists in our input data set in the C underscore sale column. So we will put C underscore sale. The second parameter is the dimension. We know that in this case the dimension is month, and we know that this month in our input data set is there in the column C underscore month. The third parameter is the value of the dimension for each of which the aggregation of sales is taking place. Now the value is there in the array we have just defined, which is nothing but V underscore month. And once we do that, we get the sales for each of the months. Now, in order to calculate the percentage of sales, we will go ahead and define another named range, which would, so this is the vertical range V, and this is monthly VM sales VM sales, and this would correspond to the value of monthly sales that we have just obtained. So this is the named range corresponding to the monthly values of the sales. Now in order to calculate the percentage, we will simply go ahead and divide the individual elements of the VM sales by sum of all elements of VM sales, and we get the percentage. We have to now simply convert these values to percentage. We will go there, go to home and convert it to percentage, and we will take two decimal places. So we are done. So it takes around a couple of minutes to solve this business question using the sum ifs function by modeling the sum ifs function. So just to revisit, the formula is this: sum ifs, sum of the metric where the dimension month is equal to value of the month. So it will iterate through each of these values and aggregate sales for each of the values when you use this formula. So therefore our solution is complete using the sum ifs function. So here lies the solution. We will just So here lies the solution. Now we will model this using the pivot table. That's also very handy, and it is also quite a simple and straightforward thing to model this using pivot table. So in order to do that, we will have to insert our pivot table. We go to the insert menu and then we insert the pivot table. In the pivot table insert pivot table dialog box, it asks you for the table or range where the base data from which this pivot table will be generated. Now this base data is nothing but the input data, and we know that the defined range for the input data was ds underscore sales. Now, in this worksheet, we will put the pivot table in this worksheet in the value which is H10. We will put the pivot table here and we will simply click OK. The moment we click OK, the pivot table opens and the attribute list of the pivot table is in front of us. Now the way we want the output is to have our month dimension in rows. If you see, the months are in rows, January, February and so on and so forth till December, they are in rows. So we simply pull the month dimension into rows. And we know that our metric is sales and we are doing a sum of sales, sum on the metric. We will simply pull the sale to values and we will keep it as sum. The moment you do that, you will see that your pivot table is completed and the values that you obtain by through the pivot table method will be exactly be the same to the values that we have obtained using this sum ifs method. Now, in order to calculate the percentage of sales, what we have to do, we have to simply pull the sale metric once again to the values attribute. The moment you do that, you will see that another variable has got generated, which is sum of sale 2. Now we will express this sum of sale 2 not as an absolute value but simply as a percentage. So we'll simply click on this variable, we will go to value field settings and we will express this sum of sale not as a individual numeric value but as a percentage. So we go to the show values as tab and then from the show values as list box we will select the percentage of column total. So we are taking the percentage of the column total in order to express sales, monthly sales as percentage, and we will simply click OK. The moment you do that, your entire business problem is solved and you are left with all the relevant results that you had asked. You will see if you compare the left hand side table with the right side table, one done, the previous one done with the sum ifs function and the current one is done with the pivot table, you will see exactly the values match for each of the months. Now, just to make the report a little bit more legible, we can give more legitimate names. We can put month here, we can put sales here, and we can put percentage sales here. So we complete this business question: what percentage of sale occurs during each month? Now let us